It's a small European country, about the size of West Virginia, but the former Soviet state of Latvia is accused of being a potential weak link in the banking system of the Western world. Since the 1990s, the country has sought to become a Switzerland of the Baltic, but the US government says one of the biggest banks made a business by processing illegal money transfers. The money comes from countries under sanctions, such as North Korea and Russia. Shell companies are used to filter money through banks in Latvia, which is then free to flow unchecked inside the European Union. A US government report published in February accuses the bank of proactively circumventing financial rules to launder money and says it has used bribery to influence Latvian officials. That same week, Latvian authorities said the country's central bank chief Ilmārs Rimsevičs was suspected of taking bribes, banning him from doing his job while the investigation is underway. In this photo obtained by the AP, Rimsevičs is seen on a hunting trip in Russia in 2010 in company of the head of a Russian military company now sanctioned by the US. Latvian Prime Minister Maris Kušinskis says his country is now trying to drastically clean up its financial system. As a NATO country, as an EU member on the external border of the European Union and the border with Russia, in the current geopolitical context, we cannot afford to have any uncontrolled money flows from the countries that have to be constantly monitored in order to avoid any meddling or any influence. Latvia says it will ban banks from doing business with shell companies, often used by criminals and the corrupt because the identity of their owners is kept secret. In April, Parliament approved a ban on almost all shell companies and said it aims to reduce the amount of foreign deposits in its bank from about 40% of the total to just 5% by the end of the year. In London, Grigory Guselnikov, the owner and chairman of Latvia's Norvik Bank, says he was asked for bribes multiple times by Rimsevičs and his associates and was threatened. He's cautious about the probability of success.
Latvian legislation is actually anti-money laundering legislation. It's the toughest legislation, one of the toughest legislation in the European Union. So the question is not the legislation, the question is how it works.
But with Washington and now London actively seeking ways to tighten illegal money flows to put pressure on oligarchs with ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin, time might be up for Latvia's financial freewheeling. David Keaton for the Associated Press in Riga, Latvia.